so that we may earn some money through entrepreneurship program. Actually, currently the world is suffering very pandemic situations. Every sectors of human life is adversely affected. The young generation is having hard time because of disruption of education and training, unemployment problems. In this situation, it is my great pleasure that the Department of Innovation Institute Innovation Council of the college has organized these types of webinar for development of entrepreneurship thinking from the small innovation context of the present society. I do hope that this sort of interactions and exchange of news and views in this webinar will greatly enrich all of our students so that they may enter any type of entrepreneurship program Last but not the least, I express my profound respect and best wishes to the respected speaker, Dr. Polas Khan, who is a great entrepreneur. After completing education, he entered in a good business. We heard from his talk today. So I give my respect to Dr. Polas Khan, to his kind presence in this webinar. Thank you. Thanks all of you.
Thanks a lot, sir, for your kind word. So now I would like to request our main speaker, Dr. Polas Khan, to present your work.
Thank you, Wadut, for this nice and warm introduction. And also thank you, Dr. Shapon Kumar Mishra-ji, for inviting me in this webinar. So today I will be discussing about renewable energy and entrepreneurship opportunities in India and particularly in West Bengal. So maybe some students who might be interested can have get some insight about and also about entrepreneurship. So I'm sharing my screen. So can you see my screen?
Yes, clearly.
Okay. Okay, so today we'll be discussing about renewable energy and entrepreneurship opportunities. So firstly, I will discuss, here is the brief description that what I will be going to discuss in this webinar. So there will be some little introduction about renewable energy. Many of you already know about it because this is nowadays in the curriculum, but I will give a brief description about renewable energy and then also about little description about entrepreneurship. And then we'll go into some details into the renewable energy sectors, the major renewable energy sectors, and what are the challenges and what are the opportunities there, and what are the entrepreneurship opportunities that you can have in this field. And then we'll have a brief summary and outlook. Okay, so let's start with the renewable energy. So what's the renewable energy? So we already know that renewable energy is energy which is replenished naturally on human time scale. To understand this, let's take the example of coal. For example, to form coal, it takes millions of years, and in 500 years we have consumed a lot of coals. And if we keep on consuming coals like this, at certain time it will completely end. So the coal is not a renewable source. But consider other source of energy like solar, wind, hydro, tidal, geothermal, or biogas. This kind of energy can be used, but still there will be plenty to use later as well. For example, take solar. The sun is giving the solar energy, and sun the age of sun is around 5 billion years, and it is expected that it will last for another 5 billion years. So practically, although this will end someday after 5 billion years, but practically speaking, this is never ending for our time scale, for a human time scale. And for other energies like hydro, wind, tidal, or biomass, although these are different forms of energy, but they basically come from sun. For example, the wind energy. This is like some parts of the world is getting hotter and some part of the world is cold, so there is a wind flow. But this happens due to sunlight. So this is indirectly solar energy. So apart from the geothermal part, which happened during earth formation and all these things, most of the energy that renewable energy we are talking about are basically some form of solar energy. Basically, sun is basically a nuclear reactor, which is quite apart, around 150 million kilometers apart from Earth. But that is basically a nuclear reactor that is providing solar energy. So basically, there are many renewable energy options nowadays. So solar, wind, hydro, tides, biomass, geothermal, heat, and all these things. But if we look at these energy forms, many of them are not usable in various parts of the world. Because, for example, geothermal cannot be applied everywhere where there is a potent geothermal energy, and there is the accessible region should also be present there. But this is not available everywhere. But when it comes to wind or solar, it is generally available most of the places on the earth. So we'll talk about solar or wind mainly, because these are distributed energy and also scalable energies. By scalable, we means that we can build a 1 megawatt power plant, and then we can add another 1 megawatt power plant, or we can just install 1 kilowatt solar system in our home, and then we can add another 1 kilowatt system in our home. So this is basically scalable. And this is also portable, because you know that we can install solar power plant in our home, and we can also use the same solar panel in the space as well. Not the same, but a little modified, but the technology, basic technology is the same. So it is portable, it is scalable, and it is getting cost effective as well. So we'll talk about these two forms of energy, mainly solar and wind, and what are the challenges there and what are the opportunities. So now, when coming to entrepreneurship, there are many forms of entrepreneurship that we see in your day-to-day lives. Entrepreneurship actually makes our life better. But if we look the entrepreneurship, every form of entrepreneurship is important. Nothing is less important, nothing is very important, but everything is important. But when we look around ourselves, the most of the type of entrepreneurship we see is small business, which we see in our locality. If we consider all of the entrepreneurship, then 99% of all the businesses are in this form. This is small business. It is generally a for-profit kind of company. So it makes revenue and it makes profit, and that's how it's run. And then there are social entrepreneurship, where the main purpose of this entrepreneurship.
বিশ্বজিৎ, তুমি বন্ধ করো, মাইক্রোফোনটা বন্ধ করো।
Yeah, Polazda, you may start now. Sorry for the disturb.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes. Could you please start?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure.
So apart from the small business, there are social entrepreneurs which try to solve the social problems like child education, children education, or poverty, or something like that. And then there are large companies which are managed by board of directors, but these are generally for profit-making companies like Reliance or Adani or something like that. And then there are scalable startups, which are ambitious, which try to change the industry, which creates huge value for the society and provides incredible returns for the investors. Like example, you can use Google. In Google, we use in our day-to-day life almost every day. Amazon, Tesla, Twitter, Netflix, all of these are startups. They at some point of time they were started by 2 or 3 people, and then they grow up and then they change the industry they operated. And even some cases they started a new industry altogether. For example, Google search and Yahoo and all these things were not before the dot-com bubble. They started these ventures, and now they became the part of our day-to-day life. So these are called scalable startups. So we'll discuss about mainly small businesses and scalable startups because these are the things that we should be looking for. Now, entrepreneurship in renewable energy, what are the benefits? If we start an entrepreneurship in renewable energy, what will be the benefits? First of all, this will create a job for a lot of people in local area. And also, this will reduce the risks of health and cost, because nowadays pollution and global warming is a major risk, major problem. So if this renewable energy takes off, which is already is, and if this grows, then it will reduce the risks of a health risks and also reduce the global warming problems. And over time, it will reduce the energy cost, because 10 to 20 years back, the most of our energy used to come from coal or natural gas or oil. Now we have plenty of solar energy and wind energy in the energy mix. So this is a good thing to have, because we are reducing the carbon footprint of our planet, and also we have other options for energy. So this will eventually give us energy security in the long run. Now, when it comes to entrepreneurship, there is a major gap in renewable energy sector, which is the financing. So what happens is that renewable energy sector is just started yet, and the energy is not matured right now. It is just increasing day by day. So the financial return of this sector is around 12 to 14 IRR, which is not very big compared to other scalable startups like Google, Amazon, all these things. But this is not also like a traditional philanthropy job. So the financing of a renewable energy sector startup will be different from a startup like Google or something or in a foundation like there will have a different financing model needed for this renewable sector. This is called patient capital. What does we mean by patient capital? Here this will not be for like a charity or something like a charity, but this will not be also making a huge profit over time. But this is sustainable and have social impact. So if you look at the plot chart here, there are two kinds of businesses. In the left hand side, in the x-axis, here this is the traditional philanthropy. Their main purpose is to maximize social returns, like Bill Gates Foundation or any charity, where they try to maximize the social benefits, whether it is children education, or reducing poverty, or fighting for any kind of disease in African countries or any developing countries. And then there are ventures which are called traditional venture capitalist ventures, which are scalable startups. Their main goal is to maximize the profit or increase the IRR of the return of the investment of the shareholders. But if we look at the renewable energy sectors, this does not fall in either of this category. This falls somewhere in patient capital category, where renewable energy have some social impact. Also, it is sustainable business, because it can over time it can add value to the system, and over 2 decades or 3 decades, it can provide a sustainable cash flow for any business. So this is where the renewable sector lies. Now we'll go to few renewable energy sectors and try to find out what are the challenges there and what are the entrepreneurship opportunities there. So first, there is solar energy, and then we'll have wind energy, and then we'll talk about energy storage system and electric vehicle. So now solar energy, why it is important for Indian perspective, or let's say West Bengal or India perspective. So if we look at the global map, the majority of the sunshine that comes from the sun falls between Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn. So if you look at this band, this pink color band, this is the region where most of the sunlight comes. So this goes through mainly Africa, India, and Brazil and Argentina, this region. So here the solar radiation is very high. So we are actually very lucky that we are living in a country where the solar energy is relatively very high compared to other European countries or American countries. So India get around solar radiation of 5 unit per meter square per day, which is quite high compared to European countries. So from a potential perspective, we are in an advantageous situation where we get ample sunshine from the sun. Now, what we can do with this sunshine? So per capita electricity consumption in 2019 was around 1200 unit, and by 2050 it is expected to increase 80%. So it will be around 3.4 terawatt hour electricity we need by 2050. And if we want to extract all this electricity from solar energy, this is the amount of land space we need, the red dot. The red square that you see in this map, this is the amount of space we need to cover all the energy up in 2050 only from solar energy. So you can see that we have a lot of solar energy, and if we just use a little percentage of our land area, which is less than 1%, then we can meet all our energy demand from only solar. And if we want to store that energy in a battery, if we want to store that energy on a battery, then it will take this amount of space. So you can see that not only the solar, but if we want to store that energy, we can easily do that, because the amount of land space India have, which is huge compared to our energy consumption and energy storage needed. So clearly the potential is huge. Now we have to find the way out, that how we can make solar energy accessible, affordable, and sustainable. Now, how solar energy basically works? Solar panels. So sunlight falls on the solar, then goes to inverter. Inverter converts it to the AC electricity, because most of our appliances are electrical appliances. So inverter converts that into AC electricity, and then we consume that electricity in our load. And if we wish, we can store it in battery as well. So when there is no sunshine, we can use the excess energy from this battery. So this is how a typical solar energy works. I'll not go into much detail, because this is not the correct forum for the discussion. But if you have any question, you can ask me. So what is the present scenario of solar industry in India? So as per our government target, so by 2022, by this year, we are expected to have 100 gigawatt of solar power capacity in India, which is huge compared to our solar total electricity consumption in India in any form. In total energy consumption in India is around 300 gigawatt petawatt hour. So if we have around 100 gigawatt solar power, this is a substantial amount of solar into our energy mix. So right now we have around 60 gigawatt already installed. 60 gigawatt for utility scale, and 40 gigawatt is for rooftop solar, that is in our house or in our offices. So this is the planned target. But out of the 60 gigawatt, we have achieved 50% in the utility scale. But in the domestic sector, like in a roof of our house, we have only achieved 12%. So in this sector, there are a lot of opportunities, because we have achieved only 12% of our target capacity. And there we need innovation. There we need a lot of brainstorming to solve these issues so that it can scale up to our target achievements. So what are the factors that are limiting this adoption? One of the major drawbacks is the weather dependence. Solar energy is highly weather dependent. For example, in the winter or in the summer, we can have plenty of sunlight, but in monsoon we can have continuous rainy days. During those times, the solar energy cannot perform independently. So that is a major drawback of solar energy. Also, there is a gap between supply and demand. For example, the most of our energy consumption happens in the evening when everyone is at home. So this is the time peak hour when the energy consumption is the highest. But during those times, sun is off. So there is a difference between demand and supply. So this is also a factor. And also the cost. The cost of solar energy has decreased significantly over the past decade, but still it is quite high for a common people to adopt. So these are the factors that we need to solve in order to make the solar energy accessible for common people and to have a reduced carbon footprint in our planet. So this is a typical scenario of a solar power plant. So this is a real data. So you can see that solar energy generation starts at around 6 a.m. and stops around 6 p.m. But this details does not give much energy. So major energy comes from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. This is the region where major energy comes. But if you look at a cloudy day, then you can see there are choppy generations. In the mid of the day, the generation has decreased. So you can see that it can vary a lot. So this is one of the major drawback of solar energy, that it is very much weather dependent. So is there anything that we can do with to solve this problem? So that is one thing which needs to be solved, or where there is opportunity to work. Now, when it comes to cost, that solar energy is now pretty much cost effective for commercial and industrial sectors, where the solar power plant is very big. It takes around 4 to 5 year times to get the payback for solar power plant. For example, if a factory wants to install a solar power plant, they will get their money back in 4 to 5 years. So this is a very win-win situation for both environment and as well as for a commercial point of view. But for domestic sector, this benefit is not clearly visible yet. It takes around 8 to 10 years, depending on the location and other things, to get the money back. So this is a long time period to think of for most of the people. So this is where the domestic sectors, like where there are megawatt of solar power plant installed, the commercial viability is very good. And even if we look at a grid scale, by grid scale I means 100 megawatt or more solar power plant. This is generally installed in a field, and then it is exported to a distribution company, where they distribute this same solar energy to us. So this right now from the grid, that is electricity, WBA, CDCL or CSC, we purchase electricity at 7 rupees per kilowatt hour. And if we have DG set, then this cost goes around 16 rupees. But for solar domestic, it costs around 5 rupees per kilowatt hour if we consider its lifespan of 25 years. A solar power plant can last up to 25 years and more. And for utility scale, it is 2.5 rupees per unit. So utility scale is already very much viable, but domestic it's still not there. Now let's come to wind energy. So this is the scenario for solar. Now let's come to wind energy. Now when it comes to wind energy is very much cost effective. But the issue with wind energy is that we cannot have wind energy in each and every part of India. Because for wind energy to operate, the wind speed have to be around 20. The optimum wind speed have to be around 20 km per hour. And for the minimum wind speed have to be at least 15 km per hour. If this is not made, then the energy generation generated from the wind will be so small that it will not be meaningful. For example, if we look at Kolkata, the average wind speed is around 15 to 20, around 15 to 16 kilometer per hour throughout the year. So this is just the bare minimum. But this is not a viable option for Kolkata, because this is just the minimum, and this cannot generate enough electricity throughout the year. So there will be times like October or November, December, where the wind will be calm, and there will be practically no generation from the wind power plant. So majority of the wind power plant, you can see in this plot that the red, the region where the wind speed is quite high, and this is the region where it makes sense to have a wind power plant. And for West Bengal and other areas in the eastern part of region, their average wind speed throughout the year is not that high. So wind power plant in this region does not make too much sense. And because if you look at the equation, I think there is one equation, but I think this is very simple, so I just put it. So wind power, it varies v cube, so it varies with velocities cube. So if there is slight decrease in wind velocity, the power will be very less. So that is why wind speed need to be very high to get a optimum generation from a wind power plant. So these are the typical things that happens in Maharashtra or Rajasthan, where the wind speed is quite high. There they have a large array of wind turbines in the field, and they can achieve very cost-effective wind power solution there. And total installed capacity in India is around 40 gigawatt, and most of this wind power plant is in these regions. And wind generation, the cost of the wind generation arises around 2.8 rupees per unit. So this is cost effective, but cannot be done everywhere. So what is the solution? So we have wind and we have solar, but their main dependence is that also in case of wind also, the weather dependence is quite high. So what is the solution? The solution is energy storage system. So if we have energy storage system, we can store the energy when there is ample sunlight or ample wind, and then use that same energy when there is less wind or reduced sunlight. Now, how can we store energy? Typically, there are two methods to store energy. There are many methods, but typically we use two. One is the lead acid battery, which we use in our homes or in cars and all these things. And then there are pumped hydro energy storage system. This kind of storage system is capable of storing a huge amount of energy. But again, this cannot be done everywhere. This needs a upper dam reservoir and lower reservoir. And this is, if we want to manufacture this in an artificial way, it will be huge cost. But if we get a geographical location where there is a pumped hydro storage system, and this is very much cost effective. But this is not the scope of an individual entrepreneur. This is generally done by big companies, distribution companies or government but this is a big project. So this cannot be done in an individual scale or for a small business, but this can be done, and this is a very good solution. And the other option is storage system based on lithium ion or lead acid battery. But unfortunately, lead acid battery has reached a saturation where the price of the lead acid battery cannot be decreased further, because the amount of lead it takes, and also the hazardous element. Lead is a very hazardous element. So the cost reduction of lead acid battery down the line is very much negligible. So what can happen is that lithium-ion battery can help in this direction, because over the past decade, the cost of lithium battery has decreased significantly, and it is going to decrease even further. The reason is that the more we're using electric car, more we're using gadgets like mobile phone, laptops, everywhere there is lithium-ion battery. So the more we consume lithium-ion battery, the more lithium energy is produced. And then there is the concept of economy of scale. So when we produce something in a large quantity, then automatically cost decreases. So this is something that is happening for lithium-ion batteries. So this is what is going to be going to the future of storage system. that lithium, some form of lithium, it may be lithium ferrophosphate or lithium ion or lithium air or lithium aluminum, maybe this kind of system. This has the potential to reduce the cost and can have a practical impact on storage system. So there are many pilot projects going on both in utility scale and all on small scales energy storage system based on lithium ion battery system. And then there are electric vehicles. So 10 years back, most of the cars were run by either diesel or petrol or gas. Now you will be seeing that many of the cars, many of the two-wheelers and three-wheelers are going run by batteries. So this is a change that is coming, and it is going to increase in this decade. By 2030, expected that 70% of two-wheeler and three-wheeler is going to be run by electric. By electric, I mean energy storage system, which have either lead-acid battery or lithium-ion battery. Now, the main disadvantage of lead-acid battery is it is heavy, so the weight of the vehicle goes high, and also it is hazardous. On the contrary, lithium ion or lithium ferrophosphate have low maintenance and it is lightweight. So these are the things that is going to happen in this decade. And there is an opportunity for small entrepreneurs who want to start a business in a local region or want to innovate in some product that can be used in higher cars, higher speed cars, or sports cars, something like that. So the entrepreneurs who are planning to have, we are thinking to have start something. There is the opportunity that if we can build something which can be used, because these batteries will be needed in a huge amount. Because imagine how many totos are there in the road. Most of them are run by lead-acid batteries, and in the coming 5 or 10 years, most of them will be replaced by lithium ion or lithium ferrophosphate battery, and then there will be servicing issue and all these things. So if there is local entrepreneurs who can handle all these things, then in a particular region, that will be both helpful for the locality and also will create jobs in that locality, and also can have a very good business. So what are the opportunities? So I discussed about various renewable energy sectors like solar, wind, and storage system and electric vehicle. So now we discussed that what are the opportunities. We also discussed the solar energy provide a local region. If we have a team that can provide solar energy for local region, that will be very much helpful. If we want to start small, this is the way to go. You can go in this direction. If you want to manufacture something, I suggest in the renewable sector, I suggest start with battery pack, because lithium-ion battery pack or lithium ferrophosphate battery pack will be needed both in two-wheelers and three-wheelers, and so there is opportunity. Number of totos in rural areas also increase. There are a huge number of totos in the rural area or e-rickshaws. So if you can make batteries for them, then that will be a very good solution. Also, if you can make battery for a solar energy storage system as a energy storage system for solar energy or wind energy, that will be also helpful, because nowadays most of the houses use lead-acid battery for energy storage system, and that needs water topping from time to time, and if the maintenance does not happen properly, the battery cell goes down. And so this lithium-ion battery does not have this issue. They have no maintenance, almost no maintenance, and they are lightweight also, and they can be monitored online, and they can be IoT based. They can be configured in cloud, and all these things. All these nice stuffs can be done on lithium-ion battery. So there are opportunities there in this field also. And then other opportunities, which is in the financing model, because most of the cases, what happens that renewable energy, whether it is lithium-ion battery or solar energy or wind energy, most of the time it happens that the people who want to go solar does not have any financing option, or maybe want to go solar, but they cannot provide the finance for a long term. So if you can find, if someone can find a better financing model for renewable energy sector, then it itself can be a very good business idea or entrepreneurship opportunities. And if someone wants to go in the research area, then there is always a requirement for high efficiency solar cells, high energy density batteries, because high energy solar cells will reduce the number of space required to install a solar power plant, and high energy density batteries will effectively mean the same amount of energy but less weight. So this is very good for electric vehicles. So if you want to do research in this area, then I would suggest these are the things that you should look for, because these are the more challenging situations, and if you can work out something which is good high efficiency or high energy density, then I think that is a very good solution for the whole renewable energy sector. Okay, so now we have learned all the things that what are the renewable energy is and what are the opportunities. Now, how to start? So first you have to start is you have to build a team. So how to build a team? So I will suggest that there are two phases. So if you cannot build a very good team at one go. It is possible, but most of the cases it does not practical, or maybe the area you are located in or the region you are serving does not have that opportunity, because you need to have a very good amount of talent to build this team. So first I'll suggest they start with people you already know. You have a very good right mindset and right level of comfort. For example, your friend who you know from your college, or from your school. And but what is important is that most of you have to have some complementary skill set. If you both you are in the same direction, then that will be helpful, but that will not be super helpful for your business, because both if you are technical guys, then there is need for someone who can look after the commercial aspect or the marketing aspects, things. So if you have some complementary skill set, that will be very good. And build minimum viable product. So if you have, let's say you have two friends or three friends. Now with two friends, you cannot do huge amount of things. You cannot do that. But what you can do a minimum viable product or minimum viable service. So this is something that will be very crude. That will not be a professional grade. But if you can build a minimum viable product, that will be a good first step in that direction. Now, once we have the minimal viable product, then you can start to onboard new high performance people who are skilled in their respective fields. For example, you have built some prototype, you have built some prototype with some technology, and that is running, and people are using it. That is not super finished, but it is usable. Now you start to hire people who are high performance people, who are best in their field and have required skill set to make that product more polished. But is the thing already know. But when we will hire more high performance people who are more skilled, then it will probably happen that you will meet with people who have different perspective, who will not have the same mindset which you have, which you and your friend have. But they have to have the same vision. If they do not share same vision, then they cannot make the team. So first thing, you have to make your team with you 2 or 3 people whom you know, and once you have build the minimum viable product, then you try to hire high performance people who have the required skill. And at certain space, when your team is growing up, time will come when we have to come out from your comfort zone, and you have to hand over some your very important decisions to these people, because they are qualified for them and they deserve that. And when the team grows, then we have to work within the sync and push the boundaries of this, push the boundary of your business. So this is how I think the team building should go. You should go in 2 stages. First, you build with a small team, start with a small team, build viable product, and then you make hire people and build better products. Now, how to raise funds? So, like building team, raising a fund is also a task that is very important, and it needs a lot of preparation. So how this happens typically? So if you are starting with your friend, then you have to go through the first phase. If you are starting with if you're already working in a professional environment and you have started with some other colleagues who also have some complementary skill set but they have professional experience, then you can start with phase 2. So if you are starting with a friend, I'm assuming that you are starting from with your friend and close ones. So then what you have to do is first start by yourself. This is the basic most important thing. If you do not start yourself, and you have to invest whatever you have, the amount is not important. What is important that whatever you have, whatever capacity you have, you invest that in your business. If you do that, then you have skin in the game, and that is very important. And when you do that, people will support you. Then you can raise for some other some amount from your friends and family who believe in you, who trust in you, and who think that you are trying to do something and who will help you. Not everyone will do that, but some friends and family will do that, and that is enough to bring a product or to make a minimum viable product at least, or service. And if that is not enough, try to get some funding from some industry expert if possible. For example, you are trying to build some product which needs some initial funding, but you have invested some from your savings, and you have also collected some money from your friends and family. You can ask from your parents. Parents will always give, but that is not a validation of your concept. Parents will always give no matter how worst product or service you do, but that is not the validation. If you get validation from your friends and family, or from better from industry expert, then I think that is a very good starting point. And if you get some industry expert who gives who are eager, or who you convince to invest some fund, and if they does, then you are in the right track, because they know the industry, and if they think that you are doing something useful, then they will only invest. And if they invest, and they will also bring a lot of experience with them, so that will be a very very good step. And with that, you should be able to build the minimum viable product and get traction. And once you have the minimum viable product, then you have to bring the traction of the people who are going to use your product. And once you have completed the phase 1, then it's time for phase 2. So now in phase 1, we have built the product and you have get the traction. Now it's time to raise serious funds. So how do you do that? So when you have traction, then you try to have some high performance people in your team. This is kind of a egg chicken kind of problem. So first you have a product, and you have product, then you can pitch with high performance people, and if you have high performance people, then you can get funding and all these things. So this is like a cycle, vicious cycle, but you have to do it, because this is how these things are done. This cannot be done in a one go. So then once you have traction and reasonable team, prepare for fund. Various funding schemes like angel funding, VC funding. Angel funding is for small amount of funding. VC funding is for large amount of funding. So if you are looking for, if your business or entrepreneurship or your startups needs a huge amount of funding, then I will suggest go for VC funding. If you need moderate amount of funding, then go for angel investing. But assuming you are building something which needs more amount of funding, VC funding is more structured and more suitable. But what does VC look for? VC looks for two things. One, the product that you have built. The second is the product and the traction that you are getting. And the second is your team. So how much what are the people are in your team? If you are starting with you and your friend who have no industry experience, but have a very good product and is 99% business does not get any VC funding, because VC funding generally requires that your business will give at least 10-fold of returns. And if your business does not have the traction or does not have the team, then VC funding will probably not happen. In that case, what can happen is that for example, if you are building something which cannot have 10x return, let's say you are building something which has some social impact but does not have that much great return. So will VC funding be suitable for you? Most probably not. In that case, you have to look for patient funding or social capital. These kind of fundings are these fundings are generally less compared to VC funding, and but their expectation is also less. They look for around 10 to 12% IRR, which is reasonable if the business is successful. So then you should look for social capital or patient funding. If social capital or patient funding is also not available for you, then or appropriate for you, then what you should do, you should try to run business. Let's say you are starting from a village, interior village, where the scale of the business will be not that high to neither attract VC funding nor social funding or patient funding. Then what you should you do? Then you should do to try to make your business profitable and run it. As the business grows, as the business profit increases, then you try to accumulate more people, more talent, and try to increase the business. This is another option. So these are the things you can do for raise funding. Most of the time, what we see in the newspapers are the VC fundings that are raised by the startups, but most of the startups are aimed for high returns. If your business have the possibility to high returns, for example, you have made a battery that is very high energy density. These have a very profound implication in automotive industry and in general, and also in storage industry. And also, if you can build a solar panel which is let's say 2 to 3% more efficient than the traditional one, then it has the potential to have very good VC funding. But if, let's say, if you are building a business which is based on other businesses and does not have the possibility to scale to give the return of 10 to 20 fold, then you should look for social capital or patient funding. And if the business is even not that much, if just you are a friend starting with very small, trying to explore the things, then I will say that you should start try to make your business profitable and think thereafter that how you can make innovation in that, and then you can think of VC funding and all the stuffs. So hope this thing is useful, but if you have any question, you can ask me. So before you start, so now that your business is so you are serious about your business, and both you and your friend is convinced that you should do business. So before you start, I would suggest that you read at least 2-3 books about entrepreneurship. And one of them, I would suggest these 3 books. These are very good books. If you read these books, you will get a lot of insight about entrepreneurship and business. And most probably, majority of this is startup kind of business, which is scalable. One of these then is 0 to 1, which is written by Peter Thiel. He was the investor of Facebook, and he has also a company called Palantir, which is in the defense sector. But this book is quite good, and if you read this, this is not a very long book. This should be how a startup should be run. Then there is another book called The Hard Thing About Hard Things. This book is by Anderson Horowitz. This book is little bulky, but this have a lot of good insight that what are the challenges of a business, and what are the things that you can do. And there are things that there will be failure, there will be success. There are all small things that you will go in your life. This book can a very good glimpse of that business and startups in general. And then there is third book, which I will suggest that if you are not doing business or startup, then you still should read, which is a book by Ashel Vance on Elon Musk. Elon Musk is a very good most ambitious entrepreneur. If you know him, you will already know that how ambitious he is. But if you do not know, just search him. And I think if you read this book, you will get a very good insight about the life of an entrepreneur, up and downs, and also personal life, social life, and business life. So I will recommend this book even if you are not starting any business. This will give you a very good insight about life in general. So read this book, try to read these books, and you will get a lot of insight. And if you read this book, you will be able to avoid a lot of common mistakes that startup founders generally do. Okay, so we have covered a lot of things. So now let's try to summarize all these things. So both solar panels and lithium-ion battery are scalable technology, and they have the opportunities to scale business around it. And there are possibilities to do business in various scales, small scale, 3 people, 10, 20 people. And if you want to do a startups where you have hundreds of people, that is also possible. Then implemented together, if these two things, that solar panels or wind energy and lithium battery, these are implemented together, then it can solve problems like the weather related problem to renewable energy sectors. And in the next decade, more of our energy share, at least majority of energy share, will come from renewable energy, at least much bigger extent. So there is huge opportunity in renewable energy sector, and if you are looking for entrepreneurship in this sector, I will think you are in the right direction. You just have to figure out that what are the niches you can work with and how you are going to planning to work with. So these are the things that you should keep in mind while thinking about entrepreneurship. If you have any questions, you can ask me.
Thanks a lot, Polasda, for your wonderful talk and the journey from a academia to successful, I would say, successful entrepreneur. So now this session is open for question. So if you have any question, so please ask the speaker.
You can ask me any question. If it is not very silly, you can also ask me, no problem.
Okay, I have one query, Polas.
Yes.
First of all, I would like to say you very uh, thanks, many thanks for your nice and presentation on the topic renewable energy and how can renewable energy make an entrepreneur. So thank you for your nice presentation. I have one query. If I have 78 solar panels, then how much energy can be generated via solar in a sunny day? In a sunny day, if I have 78 solar panels, then how much energy can be generated in kilowatt in a sunny day?
So generally, a rule is that 3 solar panels, in present day solar panels, 3 solar panels can generate roughly 3.5 to 4 units of electricity per day. So you have 78.
Okay, no, not exactly the value. I think, okay, I get the answer. But in cloudy days, what would be the energy amount?
Electricity per day.
Okay. In a cloudy days, how much energy can be generated? Not so much sunny day, but it is a cloudy.
I should show this. Let's see. Take this picture. So this is a sunny day where the energy. Can you see my slides?
Yes.
Okay, so this is a sunny day. So if this is sunny day, the typical energy generation will be like this. But if this is a rainy day or cloudy day, then energy generation will be choppy, and this can vary depending on the cloud that we have. So generally, what I have seen that around 30% of the total capacity can be generated in a rainy day.
30%.
30%, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So I have a question regarding the funding. So the government now introduced many schemes for the renewable energy. So how did someone get this funding in this field? So is there any particular procedure?
So as I said earlier, if there is a product which is quite viable and have traction, then there are many avenues of funding. The government of India has a option called Startup India. So there you can apply for the funding. If the product has some traction, then the funding will not be issue. But if the product is based on other products and there are other competitors in the market, then this kind of funding is relatively limited, and then the option is to have some kind of government loan or grant. If the grant is available, then that is a very good option. If it is not option, then you have to have some loan.
Another question is that now your company is now growing, so I must say that you need the employee. So if student want job in your company, so how do they approach to your company?
Okay, so what happens that is that we take freshers, but in limited numbers, because now we have people who are little experienced. So what happens is that a general procedure is that in our website there is a form everyone can fill that, and when we have a requirement, we screening from that form, and once the screening is done, then they are called for personal interview, and if they succeed, then we take them for the job. So this is how we do.
Yeah. Okay, then I will.
And this is how most companies actually do it.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Then I will forward it to our student.
Sure.
So, any other question to the speaker? So if not, so then I will once again say many thanks to Polasda for the wonderful talk. So now I would request our chemistry HOD Dr. Vidhan Chandra Samant sir to say something and do the vote of thanks to our speaker.
Okay, thank you, Wadut. Today, it is my proud privilege to thank, first of all, to the Department of Physics of our college for organizing such an demanding topics on renewable energy and career opportunity. I think it is organized in a view to create awareness for the entrepreneurship, especially to motivate the young minds for thinking and designing the innovation ideas into prototype and start a business. Actually, entrepreneurship is a vital, not just for job creation, that already said by our principal sir, but a very essential and integral part of our economic growth and problem solving. Actually, over the years, several initiatives and support from the government and industry bodies have been promoted to develop and nourish a healthy startup environment across the country to meet the unemployment problems. But the situation is not so good. Actually, we see so many unemployment, people's unemployment, young minds. So this type of talk, this type of motivational workshop will help the students to do something about their by using their innovative ideas. So thank you. All these factors, how renewable energy can be taken as career opportunity program. This all the steps related to this academic to entrepreneur are very much nicely represented, nicely discussed by our today's speaker, Dr. Polas Khan. So I wish to again thank Dr. Polas Khan for his sparing his time for us, for our students mainly, to encourage them to become entrepreneur. Then I wish to thank to our principal sir, Dr. Sapan Kumar Mishra, who always encourage us to do something, to do for students and to solve their problems from academic to job. So I would like to thanks our principal sir. I also wish to thank to all of our faculty members, non-teaching staffs, and the students, particularly the students for whom the program is arranged mainly. So for participating in this virtual platform, So I thank all of them. Finally, I would like to thank Dr. Wadud Sheikh, who is the convener of this webinar. So for his initiations, mainly initiations, for organizing such a webinar. Thank you all. Wadud, over to you.
Yeah, yes. So if there is any Q question, then you may ask. I see on hand rise. Okay, now maybe he left. So if there is no further question and no discussion, then I would.
Our Vishwaduti raise his hands. Vishwaduti.
Yes, sir.
Please say something.
Welcome, sir. Participants in this webinar. I one question to Polas Khan, sir. Hello, sir.
No.
ভয়েসটা কেটে যাচ্ছে একটু
Vishwaduti, your network is very poor. Problem.
Please write your question in the chat box. Write your question in the chat box. Most probably he is disconnected. Wadud, continue. He is disconnected.
ডিসকানেক্টেড ওকে তাহলে কি
Hello?
আমরা শেষ
না আচ্ছা ঢুকেছে আবার।
হ্যালো শোনা যাচ্ছে বলুন
Sir.
হ্যাঁ
Sir. Sir, you are discuss about the solar energy and wind energy for different purpose, but another energy is earth energy, which is present in earth, actually in earth center. But what is the possibility to liberate the electricity from earth center? Hello.
Yes, this is a very good question. The earth energy is available everywhere because it is in the center, so everybody should be able to access that. But the thing is that you have to access that energy. For this you have to have access to this hot region, and by cutting a hole into the earth, this does not make any sense. So if there is any region where this is really accessible, this happens where you can have hot water. Then there is some places where you can have access to this earth core energy. So in those places, this energy can be harvested. But most of the spaces on earth, the region is not accessible. So that's why the geothermal energy is not accessible everywhere. But if there is some places where it is accessible, then we can extract that energy.
Sir, if there are chances the liberate this type of earth energy, but it is most important for their human purpose and other energy saving for uses, actually.
এটা তো সম্ভব তো বটেই। এবার কি হয় বলছি যে ওটা মানে সব জায়গায় অ্যাক্সেসিবল থাকে না। যেমন ধরুন মাটির নিচে তো জল থাকে, কিন্তু সব জায়গা থেকে জল একই হাইটে পাওয়া যায় না, যেমন সেই রকম এই আর্থের এনার্জিটাও সব জায়গায় সমানভাবে অ্যাক্সেসিবল না। মানে কোনো জায়গায় অনেকটা নিচে আছে, তো সেই জায়গাটাকে অ্যাক্সেস করাটা ডিফিকাল্ট। তো সেই জন্য ওই এনার্জিটা সমস্ত জায়গায়, পৃথিবীর সমস্ত জায়গায় অ্যাক্সেস করা যায় না। কিছু কিছু জায়গা আছে, যেমন নরওয়ের কিছু জায়গা আছে যেগুলোতে ওই জায়গাটা খুব ভালোভাবে অ্যাক্সেস করা যায়, সহজে অ্যাক্সেস করা যায়। তো সেই জায়গায় এই জিনিসটা মানে ইউজেবল এবং কমার্শিয়াল মেক সেন্স আর কি। আদারওয়াইজ মানে আমাকে যদি মাটি খুঁড়ে করতে হয়, সেটা কোনো কমার্শিয়াল ভায়াবিলিটি থাকে না।
Is there any provisions to storage this type of earth energy where it is accessible?
ইয়েস, মানে একবার এনার্জিটা বের করে নেওয়ার পর তারপর তাকে আমরা যে কোনো ভাবে স্টোর করতে পারি। বেসিক্যালি সমস্ত এনার্জি, এই ধরনের এনার্জিগুলো বেসিক্যালি ওই একটা পদ্ধতিতেই কাজ করে, সেটা হচ্ছে যে ওই একটা দুটো টেম্পারেচার ডিফারেন্স থাকুক বা এনার্জির ডিফারেন্স থাকলে সেই এনার্জি ডিফারেন্সটাকে দিয়ে আমরা একটা টারবাইন ঘোরাই, টারবাইন ঘুরিয়ে সেখান থেকে ইলেকট্রিসিটি তৈরি করে সেইটাকে এবার আমরা বিভিন্ন ব্যাটারিতে স্টোর করতে পারি। সেটা উইন্ডের ক্ষেত্রেও আমরা করি, হাইড্রোর ক্ষেত্রেও তাই করি, সোলারের ক্ষেত্রে এনার্জিটা অন্যভাবে আসে, বাট তাকে আমরা ব্যাটারিতে স্টোর করতে পারি। তো একবার ওই এনার্জিটা এক্সট্রাক্ট করতে পারলে তখন ওটাকে স্টোরেজের ব্যবস্থা মানে ওই ব্যাটারি থ্রুতে বা হাইড্রোর সাহায্যে করা যেতে পারে।
আচ্ছা,
এনার্জি এক্সট্রাকশনটাই এক্ষেত্রে মেইন একটা ইয়ে।
হুম,
ইনফ্যাক্ট সূর্যের আলোটা তো মানে রেডিলি অ্যাভেলেবেল, মানে সবার কাছেই অ্যাভেলেবেল, কিন্তু সেখান থেকেও আমরা খুব যে এনার্জি এক্সট্রাক্ট করতে পারি তা নয়। মানে
না,
আমরা এখন যদি ধরুন একটা জায়গায় 1000 ওয়াট পড়ে, মানে কোন একটা পার্টিকুলার রিজনে পার স্কয়ার মিটার যদি 1000 ওয়াট পড়ে, আমরা জাস্ট সেখান থেকে মানে 200 ওয়াট মতো আমরা এক্সট্রাক্ট করতে পারি। মানে জাস্ট 20% আমরা এক্সট্রাক্ট করতে পারি, 80% বিভিন্ন ফর্মে হিট রিফ্লেকশন আকারে বেরিয়ে যায়। তো সোলার এনার্জি খুব রেডিলি অ্যাভেলেবেল, সেটাকেও আমরা ঠিকঠাক ভাবে এক্সট্রাক্ট করতে পারছি না। তো সেইটা মানে যদি করা যায় তাহলে সেটাও একটা বিশাল ব্যাপার। আর ওই জিওথার্মালটা খুব ভালো, মানে যে জায়গায় অ্যাভেলেবেল আছে সেই জায়গার তো খুবই ভালো।
কিন্তু স্যার জিওথার্মাল এনার্জিটা স্যার ব্যাপকভাবে ব্যবহৃত হচ্ছে না এখনো। হ্যাঁ,
না,
যেটা
না,
সোলার এনার্জি বা উইন্ড এনার্জি যেভাবে পাচ্ছি আমরা, কিন্তু জিওথার্মাল এনার্জি কিন্তু সেভাবে প্রচলিত হচ্ছে না, এবং ওটা কিন্তু মানে শেষ করা যাবে না। এতখানি ভূতাত্ত্বিক যে এনার্জিটা, ভূকেন্দ্রিক যে এনার্জিটা, এটা এতখানি বেশি, যেটা কিন্তু আমরা লিবার্ট করতে পারলে এটাকে কিন্তু আমরা সমাজে অনেকভাবে কাজে লাগাতে পারবো, বাট এটা কিন্তু সেভাবে আমাদের বেশি প্রচলিত হচ্ছে না স্যার।
একদম 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 না, ওই এনার্জিটা হিউজ অ্যামাউন্ট অফ এনার্জি। আসলে ওটা যদি আমরা যেভাবে কূপ খনন করে জল পাই সেই রকম একটা লেন্থে পাওয়া যেত ওই এনার্জিটা, তাহলে তো এটা খুব অ্যাক্সেসিবল হতো, কিন্তু আনফরচুনেটলি সেটা তো নয়, ওটা অনেকটাই ডিপে থাকে, তো সেই জন্য ওটা অ্যাক্সেসিবলটা হচ্ছে না আর কি।
দেবাশিস স্যার কিছু বলবেন?
হ্যাঁ স্যার, শোনা যাচ্ছে আমাকে?
হ্যাঁ, শোনা
ক্লিয়ার, বলুন।
Good evening to all of you, sir.
Good evening.
I am not acquainted with that data, but according to the presentation, I came to know that the wind speed is not optimum in Calcutta, but being residents from this coastal area, we are living in Kontai, Purbo Medinipur district. I think, as we observed, that the wind speed during April, May, June is slightly better, I think.
Right.
So if it is likewise, so we can install the wind energy in this coastal area also, whether it is fruitful or not. I don't have any data. So that's my question.
Yeah, you are right. You are right. The slide I showed you, this is just a minute. I showed you. This is an overview, but if you look at details, if you go into details, there is this coastal area where you find the red spot, right? So
Exactly.
these regions have the winds. In coastal area, it is possible. In coastal area, it is possible. So you are right.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah. No, very good question. But actually, the majority coastal area, the wind speed is higher compared to other part inland. So in coastal area, it is very much possible.
Thank you, sir.
Another question in the chat box from the Rupam. So he asks that what is the most efficient source of the renewable energy?
Wind energy is efficient. Solar energy is efficient, but not that like wind energy. But what is happening is solar is accessible from everywhere. So that is another advantage. But wind energy is efficient, and also the hydropower is also efficient.
Okay. So once again, thanks a lot to the speaker. So if there is no further question, so we may end our meeting. So thank you all of you for your time, for participating, and thank you the speaker to give us the time from his busy schedule. So thanks a lot, Polos da.
Thank you so much, Bharat. Thank you.
ওকে, তাহলে আমরা মিটিং শেষ করছি স্যার।
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ ঠিক ঠিক থ্যাংক ইউ
ঠিক আছে,
ঠিক আছে, thank you so much.
গুড নাইট।
থ্যাংক ইউ পলাশ বাবু
Thank you.
for your presence in our webinar. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.